Hey, we're Sara and E, PhD students in Brown University's Egyptology and Assyriology department.
While there's certainly a lot of interesting academic work happening in Near Eastern studies, the Academy is definitely not the only place to get caught up on the coolest news items. One resource that many Assyriologists subscribe to is the Agaday Listserv, compiled by Jack Sasson, the Mary Jane Wortham Professor of Judaic and Biblical Studies at Vanderbilt University. For more than 2 decades, Sasson has been sending daily emails highlighting books, news, and opportunities within the field, which we want to share with you. In addition to the Agaday list, we have scoured the internet for the most exciting news stories and public scholarship related to the ancient Near East.
Throughout the month, Sara and I will curate a selection of items for interested non-specialists, and we'll share them with you in videos like this so that you can be part of the conversation.
So let's get started. Last month, Eleanor Robson released her new book, Ancient Knowledge Networks, a social geography of cuneiform scholarship in First Millennium Assyria and Babylonia. Robson is a giant in the field, and this book has been anticipated for a while. If you're interested in analysis of science and the social world in the ancient Near East, this is definitely the book for you. From the description, this book is an experiment in writing about Mesopotamian science, using geographical and social approaches to bring new insights into the intellectual history of the world's first empires. And unlike many academic tomes, Robson's book is available online for free.
Another giant in the field is the late, great W.G. Lambert, who was unrivaled in the art of drawing cuneiform tablets. On his death in 2011, Lambert's papers fell into the hands of A.R. George. Along with Junko Taniguchi, George discovered 1,400 unpublished pencil drawings of cuneiform tablets and made them suitable for publication. His new book is a peek into the history of one of Assyriology's greats.
And of course, near and dear to our hearts, Kshanthi Thavapalan's new book, The Meaning of Color in Ancient Mesopotamia, was also published last month. Unlike other reviews, we'll keep this one short. Dr. Thavapalan is a visiting assistant professor of archaeology and Assyriology here at Brown. And this book showcases her work on color in Mesopotamia, everything from an analysis of the language of color to the material components. Her book is a must-read if you've ever thought about how color words and language influence each other, or if you're interested in the skilled trades of ancient Mesopotamia.
Oxford University Press is known for its publication of hefty, yet extremely useful handbooks covering major themes and cultures of the ancient world. The most recent, the Oxford Handbook of the Phoenician and Punic Mediterranean, is the first handbook covering the Phoenician and Punic world in over 2 decades, and the first of its kind in English. This book provides readers with direct access and sources to a wide range of sites, historical periods, and viewpoints.
And if you're a fan of scripts or code breaking, you've likely heard of Linear A, an undeciphered language of the ancient Minoans from around 1500 BCE. The University of Melbourne has a great write-up on this language, featuring an interview with Dr. Brent Davis, linguist, archaeologist, and one of the few to make headway on deciphering Linear A in the last few decades. Take a look at the article for more information on our understanding of this language and the story of how we've approached trying to solve it.
The University of Pennsylvania Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology in Philadelphia is putting hundreds of new objects on display. The New York Times has a lovely write-up of this that includes a discussion of new programs featuring immigrant and refugee guides, including those from Iraq and Syria, for leading visitors through collections that represent their native cultures. Take a look at the write-up for the feature of the Sphinx of Ramses II, and if you're in Philly, stop by the museum to see it for yourself.
Travel was a huge component of the history of the ancient Near East, and you can read Michelle Green's account of traveling down the Nile in a piece in the travel section of the New York Times. See if you can pick up on the echoes of colonialism and imperialism amid Green's beautiful imagery and forming in a travelogue reminiscent of the 19th century women that she's tracing.
Interested in Babylonian cooking? The BBC has an account of trying to recreate the dishes preserved in tablets of the Yale Babylonian collection, which includes a recipe for a lamb stew that you can try for yourself.
If you happen to be in New York City on the 12th of December, consider stopping by the Institute for the Study of the Ancient World at NYU for Alexander Nagel's lecture, Persian Glazed Architecture in Babylon and Beyond. Dr. Nagel will introduce you to Babylonian glazed bricks from how they were made to how they were adorned. This lecture is part of ISAW's new exhibit, A Wonder to Behold, the Power of Craftsmanship and the Creation of Babylon's Ishtar Gate. So feel free to look around the exhibit while you're there. Dr. Nagel's talk is free, but if you're interested or thinking about attending, be sure to register ahead of time.
Speaking of ISAW's new exhibit, A Wonder to Behold, Craftsmanship and the Creation of Babylon's Ishtar Gate, will be open in New York City at ISAW until May 24th, 2020. The exhibit focuses on how seemingly mundane materials became powerful parts of one of the most iconic pieces of ancient art in the world.
Interested in learning more about the most pressing topics related to the study of the Middle East through the lens of brand new research, the University of Oxford will be hosting the annual meeting of the British Association of Near Eastern Archaeology, January 9th to 11th in 2020. The conference is organized around the theme Critical Debates in the Archaeology of the Middle East and will include talks, posters, and panels from some of the world's experts.
The unearthing of any mummy is always of interest to the community, and the rare lion mummy recently found in Saqqara is even more reason for excitement. In fact, it was so interesting that the physics community recently wrote about it.
And lions weren't the only mummies in the ancient news this month. New DNA evidence suggests that Egyptians actually captured and temporarily tamed wild birds in the millions in order to mummify them in ritualistic sacrifices.
Excavations in Iraq are gaining steam, and the involvement of Iraqi scholars is on the rise. For a local and expert update from the field, Jafar Jortheri writes for the International Association of Assyriology blog and gives an overview on excavations and conferences in Iraq, the home of ancient Mesopotamia.
Excavations in Iran are equally underway. Known as the Burnt City, 🀭Support just entered its 18th field season. This year, archaeologists hope to reach beyond the urban settlements.
2 reproductions of Assyrian 🀭 statues produced by the Spanish NGO Factum Foundation were recently unveiled at the University of Mosul. Mosul is the home of many important ancient sites, and it has been devastated by recent conflict in Iraq. The 2 🀭 represent a partnership between the University of Mosul and the British Museum, and the hope for continued repair in the future. A 🀭 was used as a protective force outside of the great Assyrian palaces, and will hopefully continue to protect the spirit of Iraq.
Interested in learning more about cuneiform and its decipherment? Join Anne for a lecture from Irving Fingal, a well-known writer and curator at the British Museum, for a discussion of cuneiform that is, quote, unexpectedly funny as it is edifying.
Looting has been and continues to be a huge problem in the study of the past, with many different institutions fighting the illegal sale of antiquities. For years, the British Museum has worked closely with law enforcement in seizing stolen goods and returning them to Iraq and Afghanistan. To learn more, check out a blog straight from the source. A curator at the British Museum writes about the good work they are doing to fight looting.
What do spy planes and Assyriology have in common? The ancient city of it turns out. Using recently declassified image from a US Cold War spy plane, Emily Hammer of the University of Pennsylvania discovered that the ancient city of may have been at least 80% larger than medieval London.
And finally, you can read about numerous Minoan archaeological finds on the island of Crissy in the Greek city Times. Researchers have so far described precious metal jewelry, vases, fish tanks, and the remains of murex shells, which are used to produce purple paints.
That's it for November's selection. Thanks again to Dr. Sasson for his work on creating this list. We'll see you all in 2020 with a selection of December's most interesting items.